Hey guys, what's up? Um, it's going to be a little bit different episode because I am looking at a trend happening in my home city of Houston, which is somewhat disturbing. So let's go over the computer and I'm going to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, so I'm actually going to zoom myself out so we'll have enough space so you can look at the computer screen, which will probably be over here somewhere. All right, so here we go. Houston market statistics, and I want you to pay attention to this. Now, this is January. We're in the end of March. Actually, today's the last day of March. And we're seeing that the price, average sales price in January is $326,063. And that's not even close to what it was about 3, 4 months ago. It was close to 300,000, excuse me. So what we're dealing with is a huge increase already. Okay. And now check this out. Let's go to February. In February, here is your average sales price right now. $349,963. Look, everybody needs to calm down. Welcome, homeowners, future homeowners, investors, and future investors. And if you're not one of those groups, it's okay. We need to talk. Let's get through all of that because this is important stuff, and because I see some people heading for some bad situations, and we need to talk about it really quickly. So, you are a buyer, and it is a seller's market. If you haven't heard it's a seller's market, welcome. You're obviously a time traveler from the past, and you've decided to visit me. Great, and take me with you. But everyone else has heard that it is a seller's market, and you, of course, are the buyer. Then you're the one that's driving that. You're driving that because demand has gone up. All right, and there's a lot of reasons for that. But what is a seller's market? What does that mean? Okay, so it basically means that months of inventory is between, for my particular area, which is Houston, Texas, is between 0 and 3 months, meaning that it would take for the current amount of homes on the market between 0 and 3 months for them to sell. Okay, what is it around now? Some areas 0.7, less than a month. So it is very aggressive. All right. So the question is, how did we get here? And basically because inventory is low, there's not a lot of houses on the market. And why are there not a lot of houses on the market? Well, because reasons. So moratoriums, forbearances. There has been a lumber price increase due to more reasons. So it's a lot of things that kind of coalesced all at once. On top of that, the type of people that are in the market are also affecting what we're seeing. So it's like a weird mix that we're probably never going to see again, if not in our, definitely not in our lifetimes, maybe even in history. But here's what I will tell you. Okay, let's say you're a buyer and you want to buy. All right, it's okay, and you can, but you need to be smarter. If you are paying 16% higher than what people were paying this time last year, then are you mental, is what comes to mind. I don't know. Insults seem better when you say it in British accents. Maybe. Nope. Okay. All right. So, you have to be smart. You cannot think that the house was worth 326,000 last month and this month is worth 340 something thousand. No, that's not how things work, and I'll show you that in a little bit. And I'll explain what's probably going to happen. Okay, so let's start with if you're going to buy. I want you to understand this. The term buyer beware comes from the real estate industry. It was coined for or in the real estate industry. And so basically what they're saying is that, yeah, back in the early days of real estate, there were no protections for the buyers. They would go in, they would see a house, and unless you had a background in construction, you didn't know what you were going to get. And you could have got a house that was 50% wood and 50% termites. And yeah, and now you're stuck with it. Buyer beware. So then along came things like here in my home state, like the Texas Real Estate Commission, which started providing some protections for consumers. And the idea is that, they are going to put things in place. For instance, they came up with some standardized forms, some promulgated contracts that are going to provide things called contingencies. So when somebody does a real estate transaction, they use these contracts so that they know that they will have contingencies in place. And so what are contingencies? They're there to protect the buyer. Remember that, what I'm saying, they're there to protect the buyer. So the first contingency is the option inspection, okay? So during the option period, you basically get a get out of jail free card, you get a chance to do an inspection, and if something shows up that you don't want to deal with, then you can just take your earnest money and go. No problem, all right? That protects you. That's there to protect you, okay? An appraisal is another contingency. Basically, if the house doesn't appraise for the value that you offered in the contract and you can't pay the difference, then you can take your money again and go and just get out of the contract. You're not forced to perform in that situation. And then another one is financing. If for some reason your financing falls through, like, an error, a mistake, maybe something that wasn't your fault or was your fault, then you can still take your money and walk away. And that is what they're there for. Now, I'm going to give you a for instance, because this is what I'm seeing, is that people are going out and they're removing their option period, they're removing their appraisal contingency, and they're removing their financing contingency so that they can be competitive on these offers to pay an exorbitant amount for houses. That is false inflation. I'll show you what real inflation is shortly, but it's false inflation. And so here's what's happening, okay? Let's say you were going to buy a car and the guy says, hey, listen, a lot of people want to buy this car, but I'm going to sell it to you. Now you got to pay 15-16% more than what I originally put on the market for. And also, I'm going to need the seatbelt, I'm going to need the brakes, and I'm going to need the airbag. That has to stay with me, okay? Do you buy that car? No, you don't buy that car. Why? Because those things are there to protect you and keep you from, and protect you later down the line, not just right now, but later down the line. And those are what your contingencies in the contract are. So if you're giving those things up, then you're going to lose some protections. The appraisal is there to make sure you don't overpay for a house, and so that you have equity later, all right? And you're not upside down or underwater on your house, all right? The option period is there to make sure that, all right, so I'm not going to go through all that, but I think you get the point, all right? Was that illustrated enough, okay? All right, so don't get rid of your contingencies, all right? You don't know what you're going to get. That is dangerous. That is a game of chicken, and only the seller wins in that, okay? Now, the market will correct. The market will correct, all right? So let's go back to the computer. Come on. I'm going to show you. I'm going to zoom back out here. All right. I'm going to show you what real inflation looks like, what real normal price progression looks like for a house, okay? All right. So this is from I'm going to blow it up just a little bit here. This is from the U.S. Bureau of Labor and Statistics, okay? And basically what this is going to show you is that since 1967, what has really happened with housing prices in general. And so you can see that before all this time, we're not going to go through all this. I just want to show you or inform you or make this simple. All right. If you see a purple line, house prices went up compared to last year. All right. If you see any other color line, like in 2010, house prices went down. Now, this is nationally. In pockets, it could be different, but nationally, this was on average what happened. So it's true. House prices always go up. And you might be saying to yourself, well, even if I buy a house that's a super inflated amount, that eventually the market will correct. I mean, excuse me, the equity will be in that house. Yes, it will. But how long will that take is the question. Look at here. This is 2021, and right now we're seeing about a 1.1% increase. All right. Now, 2021 is by far not over. And so I'm going to expect that to be a lot different, depending, because again, it's only in pockets that this sort of thing is happening, like where I am right now. Okay. So I'm going to zoom back in here. Yikes. Right in front of my face. Okay. So basically, this is what is going on. You are not going to see that come back for a while. I mean, if you were to kind of calculate that out, let's say it stayed at a 1.1, and in Houston, it's usually between 1 and 3%. Okay, 1 and 3% is what you're looking at when you're talking about, the increase in price in a normal market, in a rational market. All right. And so let's say you're in the best case scenario. Well, you're just talking about probably between 5 to 7 years before you break even. You're at the break even point. Now you got to go beyond that, probably another 3, 4, 5 years to generate enough equity to make the idea of selling legitimate. Because remember, you have closing costs, right? Okay. Now, why are there so many people doing this? All right. Well, there's two different teams in this game. All right. And you got to remember, there's team I'm paying cash. Okay. And there's team I'm using financing. All right. And so what is going to happen when this person is paying cash? It's likely they're a baby boomer who is downsizing. A baby boomer who's downsizing. And so they had a bigger house. They're now buying at a smaller price point so they can pay cash. And guess what? Here's the game they're playing. I'm willing to die in this house. Are you? You see what I'm saying? Like, this is not your game. You are on a football field with swim fins on. You're going to get wrecked. Okay? They don't care if there's no equity because they're never leaving this house. Now, the average person, stays in a house, what, 7 years, 8 years? That's statistically true. If somebody stays in a house, usually between 5 to 7 years, and sometimes a little bit longer depending on the area, but that's what you would generally see. And then you're going to want to be able to sell that house. Now, they don't care because they know what I just showed you is that eventually there'll be equity in the house. They don't care if it takes 30 years. Their kids will get that equity, all right? Because they are playing the long game. But if you are not planning on being in that house for the rest of your life and then passing it down to your children, then paying that much for a house is crazy. When the market corrects, and it will. Matter of fact, let me show you how I know the market is going to correct. Okay? All right, and this is something I haven't seen somebody bring up, particularly from my area. So let's go to the computer here, and I'm going to show you this. This is the top 20 metropolitan areas with the highest value of new residential construction authorized by building permits in the United States in 2019. So we're back in 2019, all right? So how is that relevant? Well, first of all, let's look at this. Here we go. There's Arlington at 12.7 billion. There's Houston, number 2 at almost 10 billion. And down here, I believe we have, there's Austin at 5.8 billion. Okay. So roughly you got about 27, 28 billion, maybe even 29 billion dollars of new construction permits approved in the Houston area already. Okay. Well, where are those houses? Where are those houses? Why didn't they show up? Well, just keep in mind, let's go back to the computer, that this thing happened in 2020. And it's not labeled, I apologize for that, but what this is this is the labor prices, our labor futures, lumber futures in the stock market. And so you can see what happened here in 20. Look at that spike. All right. So when lumber prices get that high, because, well, frankly, they were shutting down mills and trying to protect people from getting sick, which is the right thing to do, but it also means that there's going to be a shortage. And so instead of building houses that were so expensive no one would ever be able to buy them, what they did is they shut down those projects. But those projects are still approved. All that is still there. Okay? And so these guys are gonna eventually start building. And when they finish building, or when they start building, they are gonna flood the market. They are gonna absolutely flood the market with new homes. And when they do that, the market will correct. And when the market corrects, okay, then the prices of those homes that were bought at super inflated rates are going to go down, way down. All right. I don't know if it's going to be a crash. I'm thinking like maybe 30%, maybe 20%. I don't know. I think it's just going to correct where it was probably previous. So maybe somewhere between 15 to 20%, something like that. So here we go. And then keep in mind, what is something you keep hearing about interest rates? They're at an all-time low. All right. All-time low, right? Okay, fine. They're at an all-time low, and that sounds awesome. But remember, when you hear the term all-time low, what does that mean? It's going to happen to interest rates. Eventually, they're going to go up. That's the only place they can go. If we're at an all-time low, they're going to go back up. And when they go back up, all right, this is what happens to home prices when interest rates go up, home prices go down. Interest rates go up, home prices go down. Okay, I like that. That's like a little dance. Okay, anyway. All right, so here's what you're gonna have to deal with in the near future. All right, there's gonna be a huge amount of inventory coming. Interest rates are gonna correct. All right. And don't worry about that, by the way, if you're a buyer and you're not going to buy, you're going to wait for the interest rates to go back up, because when interest rate goes up, prices go down. When prices go down, they even each other out. Remember, the money may not be as cheap, but the houses are not as expensive. So it's going to even out. It's about the same for you. Okay. It just depends, but it's about the same. Don't worry about that. What you want to do is make sure you buy a house that's either flat or has some equity in it already, and that's the time to buy. Okay, but you're still saying, I really want to buy. I really want to buy. Listen. In life, when one door closes, another door opens. Okay? One door closes, another door opens. Okay? Closes, open. I got another dance going. Closes, opens. Closes, opens. All right. So, what's in the open door? Yeah. Rentals. Okay? So, I'm going to give you two scenarios. First scenario is you sold your home and you're having a heck of a time buying a new home. Okay. Go get a rental. Go get a rental that's really cost effective, all right? Because if you use this time to save money, all right, continue to increase your portfolio, your income. Use, instead of putting that money in down payment of the house, use that opportunity um, uh, to put that money somewhere where it can start to, I don't know, make you more money. And so, like, or at least just save up enough to where you can put a huge down payment on the house and make sure that you get the best deal possible when you go in to actually purchase next time. That's one scenario, right? And so you're renting, and then eventually when the market corrects, then you're going to be able to come out and you're going to be able to act like you're a baby boomer. And boom. Okay. And then the second thing is your first time home buyer. Okay. Relax. Relax. All right. Just stay where you're at. All right. If it's not the best situation, then talk with your real estate about finding maybe a rental situation. Here's the truth. When one area of a market gets saturated, another area dries up. So guess what? Everybody's able to buy homes because there's more buying power out there right now. Guess what's happening to the rental market? Yeah, less people are renting. So those are available. And guess what? The price in Houston, at least, hasn't even really changed that much. So take advantage of that and go get a rental, save up your money, make sure you get a cost-effective rental, and save up your money so that now when it's time to buy in the future, it's stronger. Build your credit, do all those things, and come in powerful when the market changes. Wait for your time. Do not try to play this baby boomers game. This is not your game. You need to get on the bench, take a swig of Gatorade, and wait for your game to start. Okay. Now, I hope this wasn't discouraging. My idea is I want to encourage you, if you want to buy a home, be smart about it. Okay. And if you are in one of those situations I talked about, I hope this is going to be helpful for you so that you can make better decisions going down the line and you can look at the future. And you now have some information that'll maybe help you make those decisions. Okay? All right. Please leave me a comment, questions, if you have anything. One more thing. If you're buying a house at an exorbitant rate, at an inflated price, do you understand that you're going to have to pay the property taxes based on the price for a very long time? Okay? The only way you're going to get that down is if for some reason that when the market corrects, then a house that's a comparable in your area sells at a more reasonable price. Then you'll be able to use it as well, first you're going to have to wait a year because remember, you pay property taxes in arrears. So again, we're going to wait a year, all right? And then you're going to have to, challenge your property taxes. And so, and don't forget what that probably is doing to the neighborhood as well, because tax assessors are assessing based off the community as a whole. And so it could be raising everyone's taxes in a very crazy way, unless of course you are over 65, you are a veteran with a certain amount of disability, or you're one of my clients. But I want to make sure that if you guys have questions that you leave them down in the commentary below. My name is Brian Travis. This is Getting Homes. I get homes, and I think you will too. I'll see you next time.